morning.
Good morning. I'm driving.
Yay. I needed that energy coming from you. And Shelly, you gotta know, Shelly Waters.
I'm here. I got to get to my computer, Darwin. I'm a slacker.
I know, I could see you right on the side there. Hey, listen, Jason just made a huge commitment. You guys should just party together there. What the heck? Jason just made a huge commitment, and we've got witnesses. He is going to take part and go to the VFW and have a 225 beer and talk to people. So we had a good discussion with him regarding his sphere of influence.
Yeah, we did. And I offered to be a chaperone at the VFW as long as he drove.
That was, see, and that's what I told him. He said, I should take Shelly. I said, yes, but get her back out of there before she gets intoxicated. So, so anyway, yes, he did make that commitment this week. He will go there. And he made that with everybody, and we all got to check with him when we're back together on the 15th or the 14th, whatever one that is. So, hey, you guys are awesome. You are the best of the best right here, because you're actually with me. There's just a number of things that I want to give you a little bit of what we're looking at for 2023. And where we're going to be working with managers. So some of the managers get a little bit of a foresight before all the other managers do. But anyway, let's start with good news. What's happened? We're thinking mentors. What are some of the successes that we've had in the past month regarding our mentees?
I can go.
Go for it, Alana.
My mentee, Justin, he's actually closing on his own personal house in the next week.
That's a good thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, he was hesitant to buy. He, did I don't have a down payment. We ended up going RD for him and getting the seller to pay concessions. So he's getting his house for $8,000.
Isn't that a wonderful thing?
Yay!
Yeah,
Yay.
no doubt. I just closed on one on Monday for a buyer, and what was it? I think he gave me a $1,500 earnest money deposit. It might have been $1,000. It was probably $1,000, and he had to write a check for $220, and it was an FHA MSHDA. So, actually it was conventional MSHDA, but it was like, man, nice home, $125,000, and it cost him about $1,700 out of pocket. And a payment is less than renting. It's like, oh well, we got to talk to more people on that one. Who else has got some good news about mentees that they're working with?
I do. So my mentee, Adam, he just graduated. We just celebrated that yesterday at our staff meeting. He's my first dude. So one guy said I was intimidating. Another guy, it just didn't work out. So like I've had this thing where like I couldn't get a dude through, but it sounds like maybe Mike Wagner helped too, because another mentee in our office said, yeah, I think I got to get a hold of that Mike Wagner dude. So like, hey, however, it takes a village. It's like children. It takes a village. I know it took a village for me. But yeah, I was just super excited for him. And he's already been like in our top 3. So he was in our top 3 in October. And then Lisa, was he in our top 3 in November too? I think I saw, right?
We don't have him yet, but he was in October. I'm guessing possibly, yeah.
And he did really well, didn't he? How many closings, listings?
Lord have mercy. I don't know. I lost track.
Yeah, me too. Lots.
Jeremy was just saying like 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of transactions. Like he's not too good for anything. He's got a $30,000 thing up on the board. Like at this point in time, I don't care. He's getting through those things, and he just, he works in his own way. So it's one of those things, like I tell people the same thing that Robert Kiyosaki says. He goes, I can't tell you exactly what to do for you, but I'll tell you what I did, and then you figure it out for you. And he did. And he was like super anti-social media. Well, I'm a social media queen. So I was like, well, I don't know what to tell him to do. He went off and he dug into buying leads, and that's his thing. And I personally would pull my hair out for what he goes through for those leads. That would not at all match me. But it just goes to show what's good for one isn't good for all, and then vice versa. So he did it his way. Little Frankie Sinatra there.
I like that aspect of what you were saying, because it's one of the keys. Because, all right, you don't like calling FSBOs. What are you good and comfortable with? Well, I like expireds better. Great. Then go do that. Go do a whole lot of them. Well, I don't like any of that, and Larry, Val, I can use Amanda for this one. And it's part of what I can let you know that we managers need to do as we move into 2023. But it's okay if you don't want to do X, which in this case is, I don't want to do any of that active stuff. Me knocking on doors, calling FSBOs, expireds, even calling my sphere of influence. Nope, don't like it, don't plan on it, don't want to do it. Okay, what will you do? Well, then they go do that. So with what Nicole just brought up with him, is that he said, I'll buy a whole lot of leads. I will call and call and call and narrow it down until I find the one who wants to actually buy or sell. And so look, if that's your choice, go ahead, buy the leads, understand what they are, and that you're going to have to work them over and over and over. It's the part that so many don't understand, is that this is work, in that nobody's going to hand you leads that are just going to fall in your lap and, oh, by the way, they're ready to buy yesterday, because that's what they all want. And we've got to bring them into the reality, because that isn't it. So that's a great story, great share right there. I like that one. Who else has got some good news regarding a mentee?
I want to give my honestly our whole team and all the mentors like at my office a shout out, because I recruited someone from EXP. He's a new agent. He came here and now he has his first listing, and it's actually Jamie's mentee. And Jamie's out for a little bit. And so Jen, me, Shelly, like we all have helped him in so many ways. And yesterday, me and him were sitting down because he has a listing that's going live today. And I was like, are you happy you like made the move? And he was like, I'm so happy. He's like, it's so cool. He's like, I literally had a mentor that never even called me back. And he's like, and now I have 4 of you guys, and the amount of information I've learned from all 4 of you is like so great. So I just think it's awesome, and he loves it here, and I'm glad.
Me too, absolutely.
You guys do. You got great office culture, and yeah, the way that you guys work with each other, it's pretty fantastic, without doubt. And I'll tell you, I think that's most of our offices, and it's growing. And the more that people will end up finding out about that, the more or the easier that your job's actually going to become as a mentor. So we're really going to work on making that happen, without doubt. How about other shares that we've got? Successful stories of mentees.
I actually have my mentee in the last month, closed on her first buyer, closed on a vacant land with a buyer, and is putting up her first listing.
Woo.
Yay.
Yeah, she's busy and she works a full-time job.
I'm loving the stories and the guys that, because for Larry Val, I'm going to call us out. There's a little bit of frustration for us because the mentees that we have, or in some cases we think we have, because they don't show up, they don't participate, and that's now coming back on Brenda and I. But we don't have that. But part of the reason for sharing this is so that if we're not seeing it, we go, wait a minute, it really can happen. We've just got to get the right people, do the right things, and learn from each other as to what you're doing that's making that work. Okay, which I want to go to, but are there other successes that we've got, mentee successes that we've got out there? If not, let's shift to.
Hello,
Yeah, go ahead, Alice. Are you with us?
I just want to say that my mentee Liz graduated from the program and she made enough money to buy a condo for her and her kids.
Yay!
Fantastic.
I mean, you know, a big down payment.
And Alice, you got to share, because I think this is a great one, because she is a dual career, right?
Yes, she is dual career.
What is it she does?
She manages a school, like she manages all the employees, the buses, the, you know, lunchtime workers, the secretaries. She's the school manager.
So she's putting in a full 40 hours.
Yes.
And then how much real estate has she closed on?
She does it all night and she does it all weekend, except when she takes her kids to soccer matches.
So I think a key, guys, to working with an agent that you've been assigned, or I'll say accepted, who is dual career, is that you can't beat around the bush.
Well, she's not, boy, she's on it all the time.
And so what we've got to share is the reality of what coming into the business and being dual career is all about. And Janelle, I mean, you can share. That's how Janelle's my go-to when I talk about what can be done working full-time, doing a dual career transition.
Yep.
Right? Because Janelle, you were 10 months, if I tell the story correctly, 10 months full-time position, finally got busy enough that you could no longer do dual career. You had to go real estate full-time.
Well,
Correct.
she wants.
I don't know how I did it, but I did it. But I also think it's just like a motivation of like someone's why, and mine was, I'm quitting my job, I'm not doing this. So.
And if it's deep enough, that's what you can do. And Alice, I don't think Liz is planning on leaving that other job, is she?
Liz wants to go full-time real estate.
Oh, so she is moving in that direction.
She is moving in that direction.
So, guys, it can be done, but there's the reality of two individuals who are successful or moving toward that success. But
Darwin, can
it
I
is
talk a little bit?
overly full-time, double time. Go ahead, Nicole.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that from the mentor side? So
Yeah.
best practices from a
That's what I
mentor,
want to
because
shift to. So yes, you're leading right into it.
okay, because I'll just tell you that's my biggest area of opportunity, because a lot of my core business where I can teach them and show them and immerse them happens while they're at work. And I don't have time to teach it again, like to do my job and then also teach it. I have time where I can teach them while I'm doing it, but I can't do things twice is where my frustration.
So you're kind of in a, how do you guys handle it? Or Alice, what did you do to kind of facilitate the education, the experience, or again, our primary, the show and watch?
I'm not sure what you want to know, but I was there for her all the time. We met once a week. She'd call me. I mean, she can call me anytime. She knows that. And she did. And if she had trouble with something, she called, we talked about it. Mostly, I let her find her own way. We'd talk about it and she'd decide what she wanted to do. And I'd say, great.
Janelle, who worked with you during that time period?
Stacy did, and she was always available. Like anytime I needed, like I could call her at 11 o'clock at night and she would like answer the phone. But also I think sometimes it doesn't always work. And maybe Nicole, you could try, it depends on the kind of job they had. I had a very flexible job. I worked there for 5 years where I could, like I told them this is what I'm doing, but I'm still going to be here for them. So I could like step out and like take a phone call, or I could step out and like, maybe if they could, like you could FaceTime them while you're doing it. Or like, if they can't do that, you could almost like record yourself doing it, like a screen recording or something, and then send it to them later if you don't have time to like do it after.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be some, what's a good word, flexibility or leniency that it would be versus somebody who actually has the availability that we need to develop them properly. So there's going to be some give and take, and I think a lot more you're there for them and probably less showing them. So it's, here, I'm going out, you can come with me if you're available, and run it in that direction.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely more difficult. So it's, I'm going to say, Alice, I think you put it very, very well. I was there for her when she needed me, but you became more of the question and answer.
I went to some appointments with her when she asked me to.
Okay.
You know, I made sure she was prepared. And, you know, we talked through everything when she had a question, but ultimately, you know, we talk about options, what she could do. And ultimately, she made the decision.
There you go.
Because it's her personality, you know, it's her way of doing things. I want her comfortable with that.
And Nicole, I know your standard, and you do a lot more than what would ever be expected of you. You've just, your heart of giving back and showing them how they do what they do is huge. So just know that if you accept, and you know, Lisa's on here, so it's not that you have to take everybody that Lisa would bring to you. It would be, who is this person? What's their circumstances? Do you have, what are they, what you want to be able to take on? And you know, I've done that with Larry and Val both. I'm going, hey, I've got this person we're thinking about, would you? And you know, Larry took on Amanda, and she's done things that we didn't expect her to do, but to date, we still have zero production out of her. But there's nothing out of the ordinary, I would put it, but we've learned and how we would handle with somebody different, which is what the whole thing is about. Get the experience, learn from the past, and don't make the same mistakes again. Make the adjustments that come with that. Does that help, Nicole?
And that, yeah, and so here's what I will tell you is that, so Adam, he took this, he's not dual career, but at the same time, he kind of is. He was like stay-at-home dad. He's got 3 kids under 3. He had all the odds stacked up against him. He never should have made it, and he totally did. And that's what I absolutely love about him. However, there are some, so I can't teach drive. You got to have it or you don't. I can't teach
Correct.
that. Like, I can't teach somebody rhythm. I taught dance. I can't teach you rhythm. You either have it or you don't. So the thing is because I guess I have it in my head as to what works, where it's really clean, because I feel just as responsible for their clients as my own. And my biggest foundation of my business is protect, because my first buying experience, I was strung out to dry. Like, I would have been that person that hated realtors and thought everybody sucks, because of my experience. So that's always the foundation of my business. And I don't feel like I can properly protect those clients without being involved more in the beginning. Like, I guess you're right. My standards are not just be there for questions. Like, I feel like I need to, like,
Yes.
they need to see the business in order to be able to properly execute. And that's not something that Adam was able to do. And there's a lot of cleanup. You know, and I straight up told him, I said, dude, you are a bull in a china shop. I can handle that. We will polish you, but I feel like there'd be less polishing work if his schedule allowed for him to kind of see how I poetically handle things versus there's just some stuff that, like, lecture doesn't work. Like, talking at somebody doesn't work. They got to see it in order to, like, really do it well. Anybody can do it, but to do it well. So I guess, yeah, that's probably where my Achilles heel is I expect 5-star every single time. And maybe I got to give and say, okay, well, if we can get them 4 stars, then we're doing fine.
Nicole, have you tried doing it? Because I would say my mentee is a little similar. Like, I like almost want her to have a little bit more drive, and I can only do so much to tell her what to do and how to do it. But I guess I would go about, how do I want to word this? Like, basically saying, like, I'll tell her things that when I got into the business, like what I did and like what was important to me, like making connections with new like agents, making sure they took me like serious, making sure that my clients, like, I was always available for them, communicated with them, and just like went above and beyond. Like, they were like my family. And I feel like that worked with her in a way to know how to, I don't know, not lecturing her, but explaining, like, so this is my experience, this is what I did, and this is what I do, and this is why this works. And this is what it's brought me with my business. I don't know if that would be a better way of explaining it to him.
Yeah, so I had a girl that was going through domestic violence. I'm a survivor. I was able to coach her through that. That's not like, he's not a feelings guy. He performs his business on like a totally, like, we're actually total opposites, but it's super cool. And I think that's one of the coolest things about that. But it's one of those things, like, so for instance, Erin Martin, so she's a mentee graduate of mine. She was actually able to, like, my thing was job shadow me for 2 weeks. Just hang out with me for 2 weeks, see everything I do. And she was able to pick up stuff, like, for instance, when I put a client in my contacts, I'll put client, you know, Betty Buyer. And then if they came in on Morrison, I'll put Morrison. So I kind of have like a quick, my brain does not remember things very well. So that's how I combat that. She did that. That's not something I would have thought to like speak out to somebody or like talk about in a phone call. It's just something that I do. So that's what I mean by like immersing in the business. And she was just able to like witness those above and beyond moments versus, you know, talking about it. It hits different. So I guess, you know, it's ultimately, it comes down to my mindset, and it's, I got to realize that like progress is okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, because like, let's admit it, all of us are perfectionists. So I think that's my Achilles heel, is that it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes. don't lose your standard, but give yourself that flexibility to be able to work with whoever it is that you've been given the opportunity to bless, and whoever's blessed by working with you.
Darwin,
Yeah, go Val.
so yesterday I attended one of Jared James's planning things, and something he said really spoke to me, and I think it can help play into people's, not having the drive. And this is something that I'm putting on my front and center: is consistency is undefeated.
I like that.
So, just be consistent with your plan and you'll see results. And the other thing he loves to say is don't focus on the results, focus on the, I can't think of the word he used, but it's the process. So instead of saying, I'm going to have 10 listings, this year, instead focus on what it takes to get you to that 10 listings.
Exactly. That was one of the things that helped Leslie Gelinas when she went from 1.5 million to over 5. She was so focused on getting the result today that it was like she couldn't see the forest through the trees thing. And that's what Jared's referring to on that. Just every day work the plan. Now, the plan is there. We call it speed board in their first 24 days. Work that plan. They've got to get their business set up and running. And oh, by the way, it's either day 2 or day 3. They're on the phone and they don't do much more than talk to their sphere of influence and get stuff set up. So we need to hold them accountable. And I can't tell you how much I've learned in the past week just working on our ISA program and its effectiveness. If we're not, focused on their productivity. Focus on their productivity. When do you guys get paid?
When they close.
When they close a deal. If they don't close a deal, when do you get paid?
Never.
So what the hell? Why are we giving them all our time and not holding their feet to the fire? I mean, now that's the selfish side of it. But I really believe, and this is what I've been learning by being in the office with Rochester, working with Larry and Val, and looking over the entire program and going, why would we, managers and mentors, allow people who are not doing anything to suck up our time? And so this is part of what I need you to know, that we will be putting a focus on in 2023 with our managers. And oh, by the way, that, hey, recruiters, hey, managers, it starts with that first meeting. That there's an understanding, an expectation. You will meet, and it's a commitment that with the last couple of people that I brought on, it'll go in my calendar. We meet once a week, 30 minutes, my calendar. Now, those two, they'll have to put it in theirs because they still have to meet with their mentees. But if they don't meet with me, then I need to have a discussion. It needs to be moved to a different time. And if they do that a few times, I need to talk to them about what their commitment to themselves is. Because the bottom line still comes to this. You're either in action doing the things that are in speed board or you're not. And I'll speak fiercely with this, but it's what we need to look at. If you're a dual career agent, it's a lame ass excuse that you're not doing your stuff. Because they should know coming into this business that that's where we're at. And that's why it was great that we had the two examples that we have today. Those people worked their tails off to get to the point where they could actually transition. Dual career is an excuse not to do it. And it's just that. Okay, you got a 40-hour job? Great. I understand. What are you going to do with the 4 hours that you got in the evening? What are you going to do with the 48 you got over the weekend? Granted, I know you're going to sleep, but what are you going to do with it? Because it's not going to be easy. I can't give you my time if you're not going to invest your own. And it's a mentality that I absolutely believe that we have to take on. It really isn't selfish. It's caring enough to tell them the truth. Okay, so know that that is something. Actually, when I'm done with you guys, I get to go talk with Chris and your district managers to kind of disseminate what we're going to be exposing the managers to. So that's why I was saying, Lisa, you're actually getting a little bit of a preview, because I went out, visited office, discovered what was working and mostly what wasn't, what was absent. Not to mention that, again, my experience since August 15th being in Rochester and being responsible for that. So there's a lot of, we look in the mirror and we realize, holy crap, right here. And it's the reason that, Lisa, I know what we need to do. So that great one. Here, another best practice, because I think one of the things was that, Nicole, you brought out as a best practice, by the way, is get in my car and you're going with me. You're going to watch what my crazy life is like, right? And that's being blessed with somebody who actually has the time to be able to follow you around. That's an important part. Show them what the crazy life of a real estate agent is about. Absolutely. What's another best practice that you guys have run into that you could share since you've been at this for the last month?
Darwin, I have something to piggyback off Nicole, if you can hear me.
Yes, you're good. You're good enough.
Okay. I was just going to say, I think a lot of it is important, like right off the bat, is just communication as to what that agent is wanting to get out of this business, where they're at, if they have the dual career, because you can't help people, like you say, that aren't motivated. You can't help people that aren't willing to find the time to work their business. But if you know what their intent is for their business when they start, that gives you a good path. And a lot, like with the dual career, when I work with those agents, a lot of it is doing time blocking, but not just their own, but the time that you can work together. So if you go through the calendar together and say, hey, I work every day 8 to 5, but I have a 15-minute break in the morning and I have an hour lunch and I've got another 15-minute break at the evening or the afternoon, then those are times that you guys can get together or help them, or really try to utilize those times throughout the days to make calls or do whatever it is. And it's our job to kind of help them point out those areas, what they can do best to utilize their time. So it just, for me, it's all the communication is what it is.
I love what you hit there. Let me, because you kind of brought up the next thing I want to share. So screen 2, see if this will work for me. Share. Okay, I've been talking about goal projectors. So if I'm not looking at the camera, it's just I'm operating on 2 screens. But over here you can see the little goal projector. Is that right? So I'm in, for my gold crew, I'm in the, what do I want to call it, 21 online, if you will, in the 21 University Learning Library. That's where I'm at in the blue side. And in there, when you're in CB University or 21 University, go to the Learning Library, enter goal projector, which is this right here. Click on enter. You need to know this, an update to Speedboard before the end of the year. This will be one of the first tasks that they complete, probably day 2, after they receive their welcome to the brand email that gets them into 21 Online or My CB Desk. My computer is a little bit older, even though it's updated. I probably should have put a few more dollars into it. So when they first come in, it will show a screen that says there's a video that will walk them all the way through this. And matter of fact, they're exactly the same except for, I was just in the gold one yesterday and it has 2 places. One, click on a video, it'll explain the whole thing and walk them through. The other is actually taking them to the goal projector, I believe. Let me just click on this.
The goal projector will do the math for you, but we'll show you the calculations.
Can you hear it?
To help you have a clear understanding of each value.
Yep.
All right. So again,
You will
there's
begin with
something
your estimated bills
that
list for the next
everybody
12 months.
is taught.
Add up all your
You don't
income
have to
and
teach them.
expenses. This
But what I would
includes
say is,
mortgage,
I don't know if we're gonna assign this to the manager at this point, or if this will be assigned to you as the mentor.
the goal projector will do
I
the math for you,
believe
but we'll show
it
you the
will, let me go back. There we go. This is the initial screen that you should see on both. How it works will be the video. And more than likely in Speedboard, it will default to this page. And they should be good enough to be able to just, if you got to get them here, great. If the manager gets them here, great. But then they're going to click on the start, which will actually take them doing the goal projector. Now, in simplest terms, they could say, I want to make $70,000. And that's all they'd have to do. They can do all this other stuff, but it puts them into the mind of a business person. Look, what are the bills you're going to have this year? Look at that as home expenses. So you can plug in whatever the numbers are, and they would simply put that in. Or you can go right to the bottom line. Suggestion, walk them through so that they know what they need to make, because, well, I want to buy a car this year. Great. Well, how much money do you have to earn to be able to make a payment, or are you planning on cash? Well, I want to pay cash for it. Well, how much do you need? Well, I need 30,000 for that. And they plug it in. What's your average sale price? I'm 250,000. What's your average commission percentage? I'm 3%. What's your split? Well, I'm at 60. Don't worry about them going up to 80, 85, or any of the other. Give them the worst case scenario. What's the average number of appointments needed? By the way, it will actually tell them in the tutorial. If you don't have it, or your manager mentor can't tell you, a good number to use is, well, we're going to say that we'll use their number. It's 30. You're going to work, unrealistic to say 52 weeks. Somebody might, but as it says in here, it's not healthy. Don't do it. Average number of prospecting, a number of appointments. Let's say it's 4. Down here it's 30, and they're going to work 4 days in prospecting. It breaks it down to where you got to talk to 14 people a day, and that should take you in about 138 minutes. Otherwise, I need you to block out of your calendar an hour and what is that? 2.5 hours for prospecting. And now your weekly meeting. There it is. That's what they need to do. Not because it's what we want them to do. It's what they need to do to make the money that they want to make. Oh, by the way, so now picture this. Their 1 week business plan is real easy. The goal projector, we know because you should have a copy of it. The results that has, you should have a copy of it. They're 50 to 100 dreams you should have. So your weekly basis, you don't have to worry about going, you know, what the heck? I thought you were dedicated. I thought you, no, it's remind me again why you got in this business. What are you hoping to be able to get? What's your why? What's your 50? So you had these and you determined that you needed to make, I can see 70,000. How are you doing with your 2.5 hours? Let me see your calendar. Is it blocked out? Because our job is to coach them. And if anybody's ever been in any type of athletics, you were coached. Was our coach always really nice? Did they, oh no, don't worry about it. I know it's really tough. Your legs hurt. Oh, well, look, go take a break. No, they pushed us beyond. They made us do the things that we didn't want to do, that we didn't like to do. They pushed us when it hurt. Why? Because we had a goal in what we were trying to accomplish. They have a goal. What you're looking at now, I want you to see this will likely hit at the first of the year. One of the things that I've come to realize that both you as mentors and we as managers, we pull a report and I'm going to speak frankly, we probably aren't doing much with it. Okay. And here's where it's like, okay, great plan. Let's say they actually put a great plan together. When I coach, I need to go to the point of what did you do last week? Not just what are you going to do for next week, but what did you really do last week? And most importantly, is how does that stack up against what you said you were going to do? So here's what we know. Based upon goal projector, they should plan for 4 hours, or excuse me, 2.5 hours, and do 2.5 hours. So 4 days, 2.5 would be 10 hours. Do 10 hours. Buyer seller contact, well, you're basically 14 a day. So it's 14. They don't need to separate this. Matter of fact, I may just put, you're probably going to see conversations. Total conversation goal. How many did they really do? How many leads should they generate? How many did they really get? Total presentations. How many appointments did they make? And you can see this is a little bit different from what we've been using, even by the verbiage. It'll change even slightly more. Listings achieved, listings sold, right on down the line. What's your plan? What do you believe will happen versus what did you actually do? Most important is going to be what did you actually do? Because now we know what you need to do based upon goal projector. Did you do what you needed to do to meet your goals? And that's the key. This is not us. This is theirs. So this will be a change that we're going to roll out so that we as managers can do the full accountability with consequences, hardcore coaching, fierce conversations. For you as a mentor, don't be afraid to do the same thing. But hopefully that's going to be a tool that will help both of you out. Now, by the way, the weekly business plan, they should bring you two. They should bring you the one for the next coming week, and they should bring the one from last week with the actual numbers, what they really did compared to what their plan was. They should bring that to you completed, along with a plan for next week. All right. And that then obviously will have a slight change to what we're doing on the reports. Questions at all toward that?
I have a question. So we're dealing with 1099s. We're just lowly mentors. We're no big deal. We get no called, no showed, which I think is the most disrespectful thing somebody can do.
Amen.
So you know I had a fierce conversation, all right. I'm not scared. But like, so consequences. So I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I guess I'd like to know more, like,
Yeah.
how do we put consequences out there? I mean, if you're a W-2, you can say, well, you get points or you get docked pay or whatever. The other thing is that these kids have a hard time with, is that they went from trading 40 hours and getting a paycheck immediately to having to trade a hell of a lot more than 40 hours before they see a paycheck. They usually have to trade weeks or months. So they've got people in their ear like, well, why are you driving all the way to the office to meet with somebody? Like, you're not getting paid to do that and it's costing you money. So I get where they're coming from, and I can coach to that if I know about it, but we've had that happen. Not so much me, but Amber's the part of the team that takes care of the paperwork side of things and teaches them that stuff. So she's been no called, no showed multiple times.
My thought, Nicole, accountability for the mentor is going to be these. Hey, you were told me you were going to work 5 days last week. You were going to spend 10 hours of prospecting. You're reporting you only did 3 days of work and you only got 5 hours of prospecting. Talk to me about what happened. Now, do they give you reasonable excuses? If they give me reasonable excuses, that's something, okay, I understand. However, for you to be able to meet your goal, this is what we determined you needed to do. Am I right? Yes. Well, then what do we do knowing you have those excuses? What do we do to be able to get you where you want to go? So instead of me telling them, they're going to come up with a solution. So my accountability is simply addressing what they gave me. This was your plan. You didn't do it. What happened? How can I help? And if, like here, they drop off and there's zeros, different story. I'll use Amanda that Larry and I are working with. As we move forward into the new year, we've got to have a conversation. She is where we knew she would be, but I got to tell you, what we haven't done is the weekly meeting, and we don't really know where she's at in regards to her development. We don't really know where she's at regarding speed board. And Larry, it was so odd because again, this is what we're discovering and going, oh my God, how did she ever get on floor time? Because there's an agent who's not been through speed board, we could tell, because she was, again, this is me looking in the mirror, you guys. We know that she's going to be at the school working from 9 until 2. And yet she took a shift for floor time. And ours is virtual in Rochester. She could take the call, but it's like, is that the best thing for somebody who's dual career? Should they be taking floor time? Well, I think it was a $600,000 or $700,000 listing opportunity. And then she came in a panic. Is Larry disheveled, right? She came in totally disheveled, looking like she'd been running around with a bunch of 5-year-olds or something, and needing all of this help. She's probably not watched any of the videos regarding paperwork. She's probably done next to nothing in regards to speed board. We obviously from that knew that she had no experience, didn't do the assignments in regards to completing a listing. And this is somebody that we had doing floor time. It's unacceptable. And, you know, then it was Larry's looking like, oh my God, can I even go out with her? This was Larry, I think in the end, it was a blown lead. Am I right? We didn't get anything from it. You're still on mute, bud. Yep, it's not taking you off yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Huh? All right. Yeah, she has not followed up with it. But the problem is that he may have wanted to see her shortly. And I asked her, does she have enough time to go home and change and get ready? And she says, no, I'm okay. And I said, no, we're not going like that. You know, I mean, it's just like giving the lead to somebody off the street. I mean, she wasn't outfitted enough to handle it. And that was the problem I had. But help her and go with her and kind of take the lead for her and help her through it. I had no problem doing it, but it's like doing it with both hands tied behind your back.
So it's the thing is then here's where I know I failed is in that weekly meeting, because what I don't know is whether or not she's doing all the things that we said that she would have to do, being a definite actively passive agent. So, you know, Larry's only got so much accountability he can do with her. After that, it rests on my shoulders. So Nicole, in your case, you can only hold them so accountable before you've got to say, hey, Lisa, I don't know if you noticed off the report. She's not, I've talked about, we've done. I think it's time that we look at what the consequences could be. And that's where it would be on Lisa's shoulders then to go, look, you either got to start doing, or you're going to have to go be an independent contractor somewhere else and screw up somebody else's time in business. Now that's not just a selfish thing. It is, but it's really about them because they're not doing what they wanted to do. And really, what kind of consequences can we offer other than to remind them of where they're going and what the lack of action, they're creating their own consequences. The only one that we can really give is either you start doing or you can't be with us. And some people got to have that conversation. And, you know, I can tell you in Rochester, Brenda and I will be having those conversations with some agents. And there will be a recommitment that we have to do. We have to. It's what we owe. And it's what we owe you guys as our mentors. And it'll be the kind of discussion that I'm leading to with our district managers here shortly. So Nicole, I guess the bottom line at Shortly, hold them accountable to their goals by coaching them using the business plan and the goal projector. If they have not done it yet, take them to that exercise and run them through the goal projector, because now we're dealing with what they want. Make sure that you have their dream sheets, that these go in a personnel file, because this is what we're going to ask the managers to do. The goal projector will be in there. Their business plans, because the question was, what do you do with the business plans after you meet with them? The answer most of the time was it went in the garbage. We want to have that in a personnel file. You, I'm going to suggest, should keep that business plan, probably the business plan and the report, keep that in a folder, in a binder, whatever your way of doing it looks, because you're going to scan them, I'm going to guess, to the manager. And I would say if you do that, scan them to the manager and me. Do it directly. I can tell you that when I'm getting them in my email directly, I'm doing a quick scan of those, looking for any anomalies and making any comments. Sometimes it's a compliment. Sometimes it's like, you know, this doesn't coordinate. But it will help me in helping you. And by the way, if you've got somebody, get me involved too. My direct responsibility as the director of agent performance is per person productivity. If that means I can get involved, call me. I'd be happy to have a conversation, set up a one-to-one, a Zoom that, you know, the 3 or 4 of us get together. You know, let's use that. But again, accountability, it's to their goals. I'm simply asking them questions, bringing the reality of what their lack of action is doing toward their goals by asking them a question. That really is the accountability. The consequences is from you is simply, so how's that leading you toward your goals? If you don't do this, or if you stay on the same course of action, what will that do to your career? So if you couldn't do real estate, where does that lead you? Do you really want to do that? Or would you rather do these things that we don't like doing? But it's that those series of questions that leads them to take action. And the action is either go do or get out. And either one's okay. The direct consequence, that fierce, really fierce conversation, will have to come from your manager. Caroline, I see you've got input.
I just had a thought, you know, it's not really any different than when we're, you know, having that commission discussion with one of our sellers and they want us to reduce our commission, right? And we go, well, okay, we have the menu of services. What do you not want me to provide, right? Which options do you not want me to do for you? So when they get to that point where they're not having that good communication or they're not having the good results because they're not putting in the time and the hours, it may be as simple as just getting out that goal projector again and going, okay, well, let's open up the goal projector and let's adjust it to, you said you're going to work 5 hours, you worked 1, you had no contacts and you've got 1 lead. Let's put that in there and see where that puts you for the end of the year. And once they visually see that what they're doing is not the number that their goal, you know, oriented, what they're trying to orient themselves to do, visually, it might be more impactful if we do that with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Jamie, you hit it. Use their business plan with their actual numbers so that they can physically see. It's one of the reasons that I put this in, and Jamie, you nailed it. Now they can see, well, I was supposed to do this. This is what I really did. And by the way, we can't help advance them until we know what the real issues are. And this is part of me working with our ISA I'm going, no, I can't share with you all of that. Let me just say the bottom line was simply this. We've got a great individual who's going to be a great real estate agent. And again, when I look in the mirror, I'm going, accountability stops right here. It's my fault. But we were going, as we really broke down the numbers, it was in the number of attempts. As simple as the number of attempts. The ratios were right. The number of attempts were off. And then it was like, well, why? Well, because I'm going, well, then let's just get those raw numbers up. But I'll show you, this is what we need to look toward. She was getting now, dig this, 300 attempts every day. Like, dial the phone. But she was talking to 10. 30 attempts to get one. By the way, so talking to 10, that's, guys, if you will, I want you to think about it from this direction. She's doing 7 hours. 7 hours of prospecting, 10 people. She's basically standing, waiting for somebody to answer the phone, and she's talking to one person an hour. And this is why I'm going, oh my God, I just discovered this. And it was an aspect of finally breaking into the numbers. It's not who she is, it's not what she's doing, it's not how she's doing. Her ratios are great. But if it's dialing 300 times, why is it that that many people are not answering a phone? So today we went, well, what could it be? And we've shifted. So now she's actually using this in a desk phone and dialing from that to see whether or not there's a difference. This is what we do, and the reason we look at these reports. What do we do to get them where they want to be? And sometimes it starts as simple as you just got to talk to enough people. Sometimes it's what's going on between her ears. We just never know until we sit down and talk with them. So that's probably when you really get stumped that somebody seems to be giving a full effort, that's probably a good time for me to get involved. But don't hesitate to ever call and ask.